Welcome and good evening, everyone. It's very grateful to have you all that will be with us today. My name is Janie Lopez, and I am the Senior Leadership Director for Richmond, Texas, here in South Texas. Residents of the nonpartisan administration dedicated to improving public education in Texas. We advocate for public policies that invest in students, encourage innovation, and autonomy in schools, and enhance college and language rates. We achieve these through advocacy and legislative recommendations. Today, we are honored to host this joint public education plan for Senate District 27 and House District 27. In addition to our in-person online today, this forum is being recorded and will be available on our website. Our sole focus for tonight is public education. We want to talk about any other topics that we have to do with public education. These forums are designed to help voters to awareness on academic issues affecting students and colleges. Michigan Texas hosting similar events across the state. Nonpartisan candidate events across the state. We will notify all candidates to attend regardless of only possible. As here on the event, raise your hands access to Adam Hinojosa candidates. They'll be encouraging everyone to go out and keep showing the time. So our audience here is really including here. We have been Janie respectful atmosphere that will refrain from applause or expression of full list of the world during portion and portion of the public. We'll show our organization through story candidates and the name of the program. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening, Gracia. Currently, Gracia serves as the Director of Communications with the Corporate Solution for Talent. A non-profit organization that is developing strong workers that empowers both employers and individuals in Jackson County to achieve the same economic perspective. In addition to the role that Corporate Solutions Canada, she is proud of the owner of the Illinois. The video marketing agency where she applies her expertise to help business right. Gracia brings along with experience from her previous roles including as organization, assistant director of sports and creation of the city of Fresno, and as a dancer, reporter, producer for CBS 30-minute channel for girls games. She has also got positions for marketing and public relations, assistant director, running military academy, and began her journalism career at University of Michigan as a teacher. Please join me in welcoming our moderator and sales on Academy at start.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Senate Forum for all Texas House District 37 and Senate District 27 here in Los Fresnos High School. Thank you all for being here and for your engagement in this important process. I'd like to extend a special thanks to our candidates for their participation. Morgan LaMantia, Senate District 27, and Jonathan Gracia, House District 37. As a moderator, I want to remind everyone of the rules for this forum. Candidates, we ask you that you stay focused on your responses and answer directly to the question being asked. Please refrain from engaging with each other or referencing past statements made by your fellow candidates. This is your opportunity to share your perspectives and allow the audience, both here and online, to learn more about you as individuals. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes to respond to each question, and 2 minutes for closing remarks. We have a timekeeper in the front row who will hold the clipboard to keep us on track today. Opening and closing statements will be given in alphabetical order, while the speaking order for the questions vary. Let's get started. Hi. They did talk out but I'm State Senator Morgan LaMantia, and I want to say thank you to Richmond, Texas for having us event today. Really appreciate being county. My district covers 8 counties and 52 school districts. Districts that are part of Division 1 and Division 2. And one thing that I realize is that all of our school districts are really to come together to work on our solutions. Though we may think that issues that happens at places and goes a bit maybe different, but we really do have the same problems, the same priorities, and the same obstacles we're trying to overcome. And it's when we all come together and speak with one voice and talk about what is most important for our school districts, that's when we start moving the needle, and that's when we start seeing getting things done. And I know this past year was very difficult for our school districts. We saw no additional money despite the fact that we were facing increased costs in every sector of running a school. And the district is out of face immediate challenges. We're on host and we're on hold and order. We have recapture that's cited in local tax dollars within our schools. We have to deal with increasing property insurance. Statistics as high as costing about a third of the basic law in the school based in the first place. And we have to distinguish and delineate costs because being this close to coast means your HVAC and your fences, everything just deteriorates at such a faster rate. Many school complexes also have property value disputes and they face issues with the HVAC system like retroactive changes and using AI to create our starlights. But when we work with our school leaders, when we work with our education advocates, we get to understand the issues. We understand these issues as well. Being on the Senate Education Committee, I've been able to really get involved, but also show, and if you approve them, you never approve them, we can find a lot of problems. We can make sure that the right decisions get made. So thank you so much, and I'm glad to be here. You need to go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Gracia. I am the Democratic candidate for Texas House District 37. It encompasses all of Cameron County, all of Felicity County. A separate part from Brownsville only has about a sliver of Brownsville. There's only one precinct. Geographically, it's fairly large, not as large as the Central District, but it's super important. We have a lot of rural ISDs within District 37, as well as metropolitan ISDs as well. One of the reasons that I decided to run for state representative was because of the public education crisis that we're facing this coming session. My wife is a public school counselor and teacher. She's been in education for the last 17 years of her career. And so I've heard the stories and the struggles throughout these years we've been together, how hard it's to come and work with people to educate our students. And then, of course, with COVID, all the sacrifices that took place during that time across school districts, not only in District 37, but across the state of Texas. And it was at that time when I found out that there was a strong push to take out money from public education to transfer over to private schools. And the legislature was thinking on using the set aside that we're going to go straight for public education. It was a side sheet to me. And when you do a little research, you find out that our current representative, unfortunately, was voting for these measures. So it was that decision that was the catalyst for my candidacy. And I want everyone in this room to understand and to know, and to talk to their families and friends, that I am a 100% strong supporter of public education. It's the reason that I'm here. And I am so happy to be able to meet you and to also be able to engage in this discussion with me.
Thank you for your introductions. During the 89th legislative session, we'll be hearing a lot about familiar topics in public education, school funding, the teacher workforce, and the growing shortfall in special education funding, which has now reached $1.9 billion. There's also the ongoing discussion about our assessment and accountability systems, not to mention the school choice or government debate. Unfortunately, these important issues stalled during the last legislative session and the fourth special session Senate followed. With inflation rising by 22% since 2019, more than half of schools are facing tough choices, either running deficit budgets or cutting fundraising programs. Right now, our teachers are earning $8,800 less than the national average, and our pre-student funding ranks 46 in the country, over 4,000 below the national average. Lawmakers will have over $21 billion available as we head into the next regular session. This includes the $4.5 billion the legislature set aside for public education funding and the new school choice program in the last session. So our first comment here, Texas legislators filed over 1,000 public education-related bills every session, and this next session will be no different. What do you think is the most important education policy issues are going into the 89th particular session? How will these help your schools and students in your district? And we have started with Ms. Morgan LaMantia.
So at the state level, I believe the most important education issues will be rooted in school funding and student attention. It's been a long time since we've increased the basic allotment, and then with the inflation cost rising, we need to increase the basic allotment by $1,300 in order to meet those needs. But we haven't done that, and we did not do that at this last session. We need to ensure our schools are funded so that they can continue to invest in the resources that will help our kids get that top-tier education, whether that's CTE, in the classroom and technology, making sure we have everything available to them. Increasing the basic allotment will also assist our school districts in meeting those necessary but unfunded safety and security measures that our school districts need to be able to make sure our students, our educators, and everyone at school are really safe and our community knows that they're safe while they're getting their education. And when it comes to teacher retention, we've heard it time and time again because it continues to be a huge issue. Our teachers are burning out. The teachers that have gotten involved in education because they love what they do, they care about their students and are trying to do what's best and teach these kids to be members of our community and be successful in their lives. They are being overwhelmed with paperwork and additional mandates that come down from the state level that micromanage them in the classroom. We need to find ways to make sure we keep teachers. We need to raise their pay, pay them what they deserve, treat them as professionals they are, and make sure that we are also providing them with all the resources that they need to continue to educate our future leaders. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with all of the points that the senator brings forward today. But in addition to that, I think the number one issue that we all know is the elephant in the room, the wild effect. We're going to have a serious fight this kind of session. It really involves education savings accounts, aka vouchers. And we're going to have a big stand. Each one of the legislators in the Texas legislature, both at the Senate and also at the House level, we're going to have a very important decision to show what they're on. We're going to support public ed. Public education is the bedrock of our community. It's the gateway to allow students to be able to get a college education or to be educated in order for that to get jobs once they graduate. If we are taking funding out of our public education system in order to be able to fund private education, we're adding another person to the table, if you will, and we're not even funding private public education. It's a disservice. It's just wrong. And so that is the number one issue. It's the reason that I'm sitting out here today to let you know that my vote is going to be against education savings accounts and vouchers. There is no gray area when it comes to this particular issue. If you look at the history of public education and savings accounts and how they interact with each other, all we have to do is look at the state of Arizona and see how they're encountering now budget overruns. Our taxes are going to be increased eventually in order to be able to fund this initiative. And I don't know if that's if there's anything more anti-Texan than being able to raise your taxes. So I want to be able to have those discussions and arguments, if you will, with the legislature, especially those individuals that see that are agreeing to fund this and then agreeing to be able to say yes to education savings accounts. So just serves public education and stand yes to.
Thank you. In the last legislative session, almost every major education policy stopped due to the debate over school choice and voucher programs in our state. There has been a lot of political debate regarding this issue during dinner. The question is, how do you envision participating in the ballot discussion this legislative session? And you start again in this Senator LaMantia.
So last session, as a member of the Senate Education Committee, we heard a lot of these ballot bills at the outset. I voted against them in every single document because we need to make sure that we're not diverting money away from our public schools. Our public schools that are responsible for educating all of our students, all of kids across Texas, and saying it to pay for a partial group of students to pay for some of those private school costs, especially considering what we both discussed earlier is the lack of funding a lot of our public schools currently. It's something that we need to focus on. And when we talk about vouchers, and we talk about bills that came up in their sessions, they refuse to allow any oversight or any regulations attached to money. If there's going to be vouchers, there needs to be oversight and regulations. They need to be held to the same metrics, the same standards that we want public schools do. We need to make sure that the money is being spent correctly, that the money is spent, public tax dollars spent for education at school, that school is actually utilizing those tax dollars for that child's education. That's not being spent elsewhere. That we know in the state that these kids are getting quality education and these tax dollars are paid for at the same standard level that we're requiring our public schools to provide. And when we talk about school choice, I think it's a misnomer because private schools are allowed to pick and choose which kids come into their school. If you get a voucher, you're not guaranteed a spot in that school. So the reality is not a parental's choice on which school these kids go to, but it is the private school's choice on which student they accept. So we need to make sure to fund our public schools before we even talk about that any discussion on ours needs to include regulations and oversight. Yes.
There are currently $4 million that are set aside for public education that was not allotted this last session. I have never seen a travesty greater than that. It is unheard of. And the reason I say this is that our educators went through COVID, having to come back to their institutions to be able to teach, and they're first responders, in my opinion. I get to homes every single day, and I speak to anybody that's involved in education. I thank them for the service the same way that I would thank somebody who was in the military. And the reason that I say that is that we need to depend on them in order to be able to do this job, regardless of what's happening. There's no funding to teach the children. You have to teach to the text, teach the children. Well, what we have right now is a system that's completely unfair. The standards that we hold public education, public educators to is much higher than what we hold to a charter schools. They're going to be higher than what we hold to private education. Now we're inviting them to the table. We're inviting them to the table to take the same money that's allotted to our public education students, but those standards are not the same. How is that fair? It's not. But the legislation knows this, and they're going to take this over the next year. And we need to be able to stand up. We need to be able to fight, vote against it, number one. But God forbid it does pass. We need to be able to show that what's fair is fair. If this passes, and God willing doesn't, but if it does, we need to do everything in our power in order to be able to have the same standards and regulations that public educators have to private educators. And once that happens, I'm okay that they're not going to want to pass it, or they're just not going to agree with anything that we're doing. So we need to do our best to continue this fight. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be about the teacher workforce. Before the last session, Governor Abbott asked the Texas Education Agency to establish a teacher vacancy task force. Texas has over 371,000 teachers, according to the latest Charleston, Texas Teachers Statewide poll. 78% of those teachers said that they are thinking about leaving the profession. That's a 20% increase from just 4 years ago. In addition, a recent report shows that more than a third of our new teachers entering our public schools are uncertified. One of the top priorities for the next academic session should be how our schools attract, retain, and train our Texas teacher workforce. What do you think is the largest obstacle for schools in attracting and retaining our teachers? Examples may include being workplace culture over emphasis on state tests. What can be done at the state level to fix some of these pressing issues? And this is going to start with Mr. Gracia.
We have all these standard requirements, obstacles that we're putting on our whole education system, and yet we failed miserably in order to be able to pay what we should. Unfortunately, Texas ranks at the bottom of the nation in teacher pay. And I find it really acceptable how we can tell at the Texas legislature how much money we have set aside, right? $18 billion this last session, $20 billion this coming session. And then somehow it's supposed to be good enough. They want to pat me back or an asterisk. The reality is that that money is our tax money. And the way that I see it is that they're taxpayers, they're not shareholders. This is not some type of business that we're supposed to just save this money without using it to be able to help society. Well, we start with public education. The money is there. Too often, the government is going to be able to let us know that there's not enough money. That's it. Or an easy excuse, whether you're at federal, state, or city, county level. Doesn't matter. It's all there. But the reality is that Texas has no excuse. We need to be able to increase teacher pay. We need to be able to talk about deregulation. Hey, that's a hot code word, right? When you talk to our colleagues on the other side, we want to get into deregulation when it comes to business. But we don't want to talk about it. We're talking about public education. Yes, we need to have standards and tests, but we shouldn't be just teaching the tests. We need to be able to have fairness across the system. And those are the discussions I look forward to having if I can have your vote for this next session or this particular election for the next session. The reality is that we have somebody in the state right now that is not supporting public education. So we need to change that to hold them accountable for their votes.
So I agree, teacher pay is a very big part of teacher retention and overcoming these obstacles, but it's not the reason. We've seen that teachers are being treated with less respect. We all know that teachers are the linchpin to our society, and yet the respect that they did have years ago, we see it slowly deteriorate year after year, and they've been villainized and vitriol, and in the public, we need to start changing that. Because no amount of money is going to want to make you come to work where you're feeling like you don't matter. But we need to change that. We need to change the environment for our teachers. We need to make sure that they know that we value them as a community, as a state, as a nation, that we understand not where they are. And when you look at a student that succeeds, the one factor that is always common in each of these successful students is the teacher that made a difference in their lives. And that means that we need to make sure we're supporting them, give the resources that our teachers need. We're not requiring them to teach to the test. Now we're removing unnecessary redundant paperwork, and we're not micromanaging in the classroom. These teachers are certified teachers, they're professionals. They have a skill set. They were taught and educated so that they can teach in the classroom. We need to treat them as professionals they are and allow them to teach kids, to meet them where they're at, to find creative ways to reach our children, to make sure that they learn how to think critically and creatively. We've got, at Sacramento Middle School, we have a teacher who uses art to make connections with math and science, to open his mind into other areas. And that happens with those teachers that are given the resources and the leeway that they need to do that. We've got a teacher at Middle School who uses race cards, teaches about science, technology, and coding, and that's what opens doors to new kids. And that's what we can do across the board and across the state to fix this issue.
Staying on Staying on topic of teacher workforce, what specific strategies do you support to attract and retain qualified teachers in rural schools where the teacher shortage are often a lot more severe? Mr. Gracia?
Well, we need to encourage our students to be able to come back and join the workforce here globally. We have such a diverse pool of applicants, but we need to be able to reward those teachers that are coming into districts that are disadvantaged. And that, by and large, is a lot of the districts across the valley, but especially across the rural districts, where it's especially hard to be able to retain those teachers even when they do get into those school districts. So I want to be able to propose a stipend for those teachers that are working in these particular districts in rural places across District 37. We need to be able to encourage them to come back, and it requires a little bit of a bonus, if you will, in order to be able to retain those teachers that are in those school districts that are already having a hard time retention. So the reality is that we need to think of solutions outside the box. We need to think of solutions that are not been proposed in the past. And I don't want to be able to hear from my colleagues in my neighborhood that there's not a way to be able to do this, because quite frankly there is. We just need to be able to come up with common sense solutions in order to be able to facilitate not only retention of these teachers, but having our local students know that this is a possibility for them to return.
So attracting students from rural areas is difficult, especially when most rural schools can only afford $35,000 salary paying for new teachers to come in. And that's the issue, is exacerbated when teachers are coming to these schools, they're getting a little pay, but they're really not as maybe a hometown and want to teach in the rural area, and yet the resources aren't there for them to truly meet those standards and teach the kids in the way that I teach them. And so we need to make sure that we're encouraging higher teacher pay in those areas, and we do that with the small school, the mid-sized district allotment by increasing the value of that allotment that's going to our schools. We can also do that by making sure our schools have the resources they need. You know, this foundation created the Rural Pathway Excellence Partnership that allows rural schools to come together and combine funding for CTE programs so that they can focus on, you know, making sure the kids, the teachers have the resources that they need to be able to have those different levels of degrees of education, those different certifications that cost such as welding or culinary arts. But now they're offering across a wide variety of school districts. And we're seeing that happen right here. We've got school districts from Willis County, Allen County, Cameron County, creating one of those districts. And some of the layers in pool and combine those resources to offer not just the students, but the teachers the resources that they need. Another issue is, as we talk about, is when we're talking about rural schools, is when we're attracting teachers, we need to also make sure that they're studying housing, because we have housing crisis in our rural areas. And so getting a teacher to come, getting a teacher to really but then not having a place to live or stay, that becomes an issue as well. So we need to look at the outside issue of housing in addition to increasing that allotment of our small business schools and finding resources for those schools that they need.
Thank you. Now let's switch gears and talk about another important topic that is in the spotlight of our public schools, which is assessment and accountability. There have been a lot of talk recently about the overemphasis on testing. Right now, our 8th through accountability system is entirely based on STAR to rate our schools at elementary and middle school levels. The Travis County District Court is still deciding whether to let the Texas Education Agency move forward on new college career military readiness tools, which have already been delayed the ratings for the last 2 school years. The question is, should our accountability system be so dependent on the STAR or any other standardized test? What changes do you believe are necessary to improve the current school accountability system, particularly standardized testing, so that it more accurately reflects student learning and growth. 7.
So I don't believe English should be subject to an star standardized test. We cannot determine how well schools should do based on one day less snapshot. Because kids do varying degrees of well on a single day because of other determined issues. So we cannot make it just so based on the star test. We don't get other factors as well will be at our age grading. We need to make sure that the star test itself is fair and consistent. And then the basis of the ongoing age lawsuit, the lawsuit on the ecosystem is because of that inconsistency, because of those changes happened rapidly. And because they are on the STAR test having AI grading systems, I was also a Brown's fourth grade BD teacher from Brown's ISD. And she told me that one of their teachers are doing is that they're looking to teach kids how to respond, how to answer test questions based on how a computer algorithm would. They're teaching them how to answer the test question based on how a system on ChatGPT would answer that question. Not teaching them their creativity, teaching them how to think critically, but how to think and write an algorithm. Now that's a little line of because it's not an algorithm to become more rounded and successful later online. So we do need to change to the way the STAR test is utilized. And when we're talking about these lab systems, we should look at something about this than just testing. How many social workers are guys downstairs at school? Do they have a permanent STEM program? What about the arts? So they upgrade the arts to our kids. Are there after school programs? Are there sports? What are student outcomes? We focus a lot, especially the ecosystem, on if we're giving our kids the college career and military readiness. But we have to follow through and say, how many of the kids that we are preparing for these programs are actually pursuing college careers or military? If we can have those numbers as well, that it was a much better view of how successful the school district is doing.
Thank you, Mr. Gracia.
I remember the time and age, and I've got everybody out in the optimistic rules at age when we didn't have to start exam, we didn't have to start exams or exams for us to be able to engage students learning. But I think there's a lot of people that did just okay. They did just fine. That doesn't mean that we don't have a place for the STAR system, that we don't have a place for determining whether or not students are actually achieving the level of education that they need to. That means that we've gone way, way past that point, in my opinion. We have put this emphasis on the STAR exam as the only basis for success in mid-learning, when we actually know that students learn in different ways. We know that teachers need to be able to have that ability to have that creativity in their teaching performance with students in order for that to learn. But if it's only engaged through the exam, then there's not a specific approach. And so we need to be able to try to understand how we can come back to the center, right? Try to figure out how we can make this easier on teachers and our public schools in order to be able to determine what success means. And I really want to engage in this if I have the opportunity, because it's just so disheartening to find out that students sometimes are taking out of their classes now, right? You're taking out of a history class in order to be able to study for chemistry, or you're taking out of, you no longer do your PE class because you're too busy trying to see your impacts math. And that's not what we center school for. We want a well-rounded education that can see your class at each subject. So it's something we definitely need to work on, and I look forward to working with the center on that.
Thank you. Let's continue our discussion on the school funding and the state budget. Since 2019, legislature hasn't increased state funding levels for schools or the basic allotment, which covers foundational operating costs. With double-digit inflation over the past 4 years, our schools are feeling the pressure. In addition, last school year saw federal stimulus funding come to an end, creating a perfect storm for schools trying to support student achievement and growth through state mandated accelerated instruction programs and high dosage tutoring. Meanwhile, the state currently has a budget surplus of at least $21 billion and an additional $23 billion in the rainy day fund. To just keep up with inflation, schools would need the basic allotment to increase by $1,300 per student from 2019 levels. What are your funding priorities for public education next session? Mr. Gracia?
It all starts with what's there. So we have the set aside with the radiation fund, we have budget surplus. We have the money. That $4 billion was supposed to be utilized for our public education system. The only reason that it was not alive in the last session was because it was a punitive action by our governor. This was a person, an individual that decided to play politics. We have the most precious resource we have in our community, that's our children. That's our future. And to hold the entire state of Texas, and in particular, punish our children over not being able to pass education savings account for voucher, it's horrible and it's wrong. I want everyone in this room to know that the first priority should be imposing that $4 billion set aside to allot it. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't go higher. Why can we go higher? Well, we're not looking at 18 billion, we're looking at 21 billion now. So again, there are no excuses for us not to be able to have this accomplishment in this next session. Being able to get that $1,300 per student on top of what we're getting now is, in my opinion, the bare minimum. We all know that inflation is affecting each of our households. It's affected our families. Well, it's also affected our public education institutions. So to not be cognizant of that and to understand that that's necessary, it's a priority, it's unacceptable. So we can have these hard discussions, but also understand that the money's there, and we need to be able to have legislators that are going to fight for public education, not with words, but with actions. So I'm going to give you the support.
So again, the money priorities is going to the basic allotment first off. Just as you said, we're approaching $100 in the hole, but it was a basic allotment. Last session, we had bills that ranged from basic allotment from $50 to $90. And this session, the last session, the Senate passed an increase in basic allotment to $75. Nice far away from the $1,300 that's necessary needed. But we need to start, just as Jonathan Gracia said, we need to start with that circle. We need to start somewhere, start increasing that basic allotment and making sure that they know that this funding is a priority for all of us, for the entire state of Texas. And we need to really start making a concerted effort to get increased $1,300 basic allotment and continue to increase those numbers with inflation, with the cost of living, the cost of living as of increase as well. We also need to increase our special needs allotment. I think that needs to be a huge driver in funding next session as well. We are underfunded by $1.7 billion. Our school districts did $1.3 billion more than what they were funded last year. They also cut a $400 million sharp program, which the state decided not to fulfill or to get actual reimbursement for a large number of those claims. That's the thing that we need as a state to step up and refund. Our schools are going out on them, making sure that the kids that are the biggest needs and are the most at risk are getting the resources and the education that they need most. The state should be going out just as well and supporting our schools in those areas. We need to make sure that the paraprofessionals and the resources that special needs programs require, that they are accessible, that they are affordable for our school districts. So it comes down to the basic allotment and the special needs allotment, and hopefully then be able to start getting our teachers to care as they deserve.
Thank you. Moving on to pre-kindergarten education. During the 85th legislative session in 2019, Texas made great strides to increase funding for pre-kindergarten instruction. but it still only funds pre-kindergarten students on a half-day basis. Would you support fully funding our current pre-kindergarten formulas that currently only provide half-day funding for eligible students?
Absolutely, we support that. You know, when Dean chooses out the age, every year that she's been a state senator, she's filed on the university deal. It has not moved. It doesn't go very far at all. We need to make sure that we support the efforts that we go out there and we truly try to fully fund those pre-K efforts. Because even the pre-K program that we have right now, the half-day program, we extend it to a full day, it'd be great. But even as exists, half-day and it's limited to kids who are part of the free lunch program or that speak English as a second language or meet the minimum requirements, we're still not eliminated. There's still wait lists. Kids still make it into the program because we're not eliminating that to be able to extend it to the entire population and use that pre-K program anyway. And we're seeing time and time again. Data showed us, reports have shown us, and when kids have access to pre-K classes, when they're learning about reading and not at a 3 and 4 year old level, they do so much better and see so much more success as they are on in life. We need to encourage more through pre-K programs for 3 and 4 year olds, not just half day, full day. We need to make sure that when we do increase in funding these programs, that we're doing so in coordination with federal oversight, with the Head Start program, and with state efforts, Texas Head Start program. There are other programs being utilized to combine and make sure we can offer these programs, fully fund them, and make sure that every 3 and 4 year old at least 3 day lessons can get. Mr. President.
We all know the importance of pre-K, so I'm not going to repeat this in her second. She just basically summed it all up. But one thing that I do want to add to my answer is the fact that parents need this happen. Why? We all know that if you can send your child, 3 or 4 years old, full night, or full day of instruction, that gives you more of an opportunity to be able to stay at work. That means that we're going to increase the productivity, right, of our society, of our community, of our state. So it's a no-brainer, not only for the students, but right, not only for that child who's receiving the education that's been out there throughout the course of their life, it's also helping parents. So it's beneficial in 2 ways. And I think it's a no-brainer for us to be able to not only invest in our children, but also be able to invest in our single mothers. These are the parents that oftentimes we have single mothers that are at home trying to get a job. They have to be able to take care of their children. And this particular program would free them up. And it would also provide that benefit to those children. So it's just a no-brainer all the way around. That small investment, even if it's large, that large investment would just be twofold. It would not only help that child, but it would also help our single mothers in our communities, in addition to our parents, and it free them up in order to be able to find employment. So I'm all for it.
Thank you. Now I'd like to dive into the important topics that are as follows: school funding and state budget. Since 2019, the legislature has kept state funding levels for school steady without any increases to basic allotment. Meanwhile, we've seen double-digit inflation over the past 4 years, which has really threatened strain on our schools. This year, we're also facing the reality that federal stimulus funding is coming to an end, and any remaining funds in schools accounts must be obligated soon. Have you talked to your school districts about what they are doing with the federal stimulus funds? If so, what have you talked about how they are addressing the learning loss? What are your schools going to do once the stimulus funds run out? Senator.
So yes, I have the opportunity this past year to talk to my school districts about many different topics, and one of them is the ESSER funds running out. And I visit them and ask about how they use it. Our schools have used those ESSER funds for certain things that they need, like those learning materials, tutoring supplies, close the digital divide, close the learning gaps that they saw due to COVID, making sure that our schools had mental health supplies and support systems, but also doing maintenance costs that really just accumulated over the years. So they're like replacing HVAC systems, school buses, school county transportation issues. They put those dollars into use. And many of these schools utilize such as permanent investments. They were also very mindful of federal regulations regarding extra funds and how some of those funds have to be used to close the learning gap. And I was happy to go towards the ISD. And part of that tour, at the elementary school, we know teachers don't hire that traditions. They don't hire extra funds. They know it's been an amazing job and they love what they're doing. They're helping the teachers in the classrooms by closing that gap, closing that learning gap, so that it should less pressure off the teachers. The teachers are able to focus and work with the other students as well. They work in partnership as a team. The innovations were able to give that one-on-one with the students when they needed it most. And one of the requests that the teachers asked me when I was there was, please give us the funding so that we can keep doing this work. We love it, we want to do it, we want to help keep helping students. What I saw through CS funds is that when we give our school districts the money that they need, the money that they ask for, and when there's oversight regulations, like there is in all aspects of education, our school districts use that money responsibly. They use the right money, and they use it to make sure our kids have the resources and the education that they deserve.
Mr. Gracia?
Well, the slides are at the bottom of they're almost done, and every school district has some very difficult decisions as a result of lack of funding. Of course, this science of the federal government is used in order to close that education gap. But the reality is that we have this money coming in, and then just cut funding on the other side. The state of Texas isn't coming through. How is that possible? What excuse do we have? We don't have one. So to be able to provide these federal money and ensure this in order to be able to teach our students to close this education gap, and then to see that being diminished year after year to the point where we're going to get down to not being able to provide these same institutional safeguards, these resources to our children. Where are we going with this? We have to ask ourselves, why is it building education is under attack? Well, the reality is that we have a legislature that just doesn't feel that public education deserves it, that they don't deserve the money, that they don't deserve the support of our state government. Why? That's unacceptable. You're doing God's work. The reality is that those students deserve every opportunity to be able to succeed and to be able to have these initiatives come into our schools and then find out that they're no longer going to be funded not only by the federal government, but now by our state government is wrong. So once again, this is a perpetual cycle. We need to be able to elect legislators, just like Senator LaMantia, like I want to be for this community. They're going to fully support public education in every single which way. This has to be priority number one, because we just don't have any excuses why we should succeed.
Thank you. Continuing on the topic of funding, let's turn our attention to special education. Commissioner Morgan has highlighted a critical issue, stating that special education services are underfunded by a staggering $1.7 billion. This raises some serious questions about how we can better support our students with disabilities. So our next question is, how do you plan to ensure that special education programs are adequately funded to meet the needs of students with disabilities, given that many districts report significant shortfalls in resources? Mr. Gracia.
Why does it feel like the answers are very similar? It goes down to properly finding public advocate. If we can gather to this next session and we can do our jobs have to begin. It starts with our children. It starts with being able to have a vision and to be able to follow through, to be able to elect the people that are going to fight for our communities, for our movements. What does that mean? That means that If you have a public education system that's suffering, we need to determine why. We have special needs students that are in dire need of extra money, and we have a state that has enough funding to go around. So where's the disconnect here? What's happening across our state? Well, I'm going to challenge the mainstream. Politics is global. What does that mean? You've got a candidate for state representative, you've got your current senator that are sitting right in front of you. We may be frustrated with what's happening in our national politics, but the reality is that you're speaking to us now. You're going to be able to touch and feel and see the changes if you elect the right representatives to be able to fight for our community. That's why the senator is up here, you know that with my heart. And that's the reason that I'm here. It's frustrating for me to be able to go over some of these questions and knowing that they're the same answers. We have the money, it needs to release, we need to support public ed, and I'm sure to do it.
So as I said earlier, we would definitely need to increase the special needs office. We need to make sure that these programs are fully funded. One thing that also doesn't get discussed the color in a lot of these special needs is the cost evaluations. When a kid needs such a thing, so that a parent that believes that the kid needs to be on these programs, it needs first to be evaluated. Those evaluations are not cheap, and it's not a comforting or also design. But the public schools also require us to do these evaluations from the private schools nearby. So they have to eat those costs as well. We need to make sure that our public schools can get fully funded, not just the services that we're providing to our own school district, but to those that are provided to other districts, to other schools, and outside private entities as well. The other thing we need to talk about when we're talking about special needs funding is the 8-12 grades. The 8-12 grades is something that we spoke about earlier. It's a lot of the STAR test. And you are the GMA in the state states that only a specific percentage of students who take the STAR alternative test. That has a huge impact on the STAR results at the 8-12 grade. We shouldn't have a state dictating how many kids who take the STAR alternative test based on an objective number of averages. We need to make sure that kids that meet a certain threshold don't meet a certain threshold. Kids that have a certain level of need and variety and assistance, they are allowed to take the STAR alternative test or they're allowed to be exempt from it, because those issues should not be impacted by the HOF, because what it does is that it diminishes the value of these students to our community, to our school systems. That's the exact opposite of what we should do. We should be funding it, but we should be allowing these students to take a test that meets their level and does not detrimentally affect the rest of the district or the rest of the students at the school level. We need to make sure we are reading these kids at all their acts. That means funding, that means how many paraprofessionals, and that means testing them at their level.
Thank you to both of you. As we approach the end of the forum, we'll now move into the closing statements. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to share their final thoughts with us. To ensure fairness, the candidates will present closing remarks in alphabetical order by last name. This is a great opportunity for them to summarize their key points and leave us with their vision moving forward. Mr. Gracia?
The first rule of politics, especially in the government, is to engage. You need to be able to go out into the community, to stand for something, to have a vision on how it is that you're going to be able to help out society. What we have out there are 2 candidates who are shitting on spots, right? You have the current senator, and of course myself, who's like your state representative. And unfortunately, our opponents aren't here. They want to take a vote next year to be able to represent each and every single person in your children. But they don't want to tell you why. I don't know something worse than government. To be able to take a vote and not be able to have the courage to stand behind it. We are here now to let you know exactly where it is that we stand, not because it's convenient, but because it's what we believe is right. That's why the senator is up here. That's the reason I'm here now. To be able to earn your trust, to earn your vote. But the only way that we can do that is house by house, event by event, and trying to meet as many people as possible to let them know what we stand for, our values, and also why is it we're fighting for these spots. I want to let everyone in this room know that I'm going to fire for public education. Not only is the fire is the counselor, like all students, I believe it. I know that this is about, this is the basis of our community, this is the reason that we all succeed. I'm here to be able to fight for you, to let you know that I am ready to do this for you. So I just need to be able to ask you for your vote, and I'm hoping that I've learned it tonight. If you have any questions, I'm going to stay out of words and answer any questions you have. Thank you.
So, like I said, they do raise your hand for putting this forum together. We've heard a lot about struggles and a lot of the frustrations that our community all face every day. But we also talk about some of the great things our teachers, our school districts are doing out there, even with limited resources that they have. They're succeeding, they are thriving, they are making it work. And we need to work together to continue to support them. One of the things I want to legislature is issues that have the loudest voice, that have the most people talking about it and pushing it. Those are the ones that get addressed. Those are the ones that get the priority of the legislature. So we cannot do this alone. I look forward to working out a way to change it, but we need your help. We need your voice, we need your vote. If educators and public education employees, if everyone went out and voted with one voice, and voted with that voice demanding that they be heard, that public education be a priority of the state, it would completely change the message is going to look like. But we can't do that without each of you encouraging your colleagues, your friends, your families to go out and vote and to ensure your voices are heard. And that's where really it's more than Austin. We've made sure that every voice is a substance, and voices are not being drowned out by those special interests or other needs. But it's your voice that is strong, and it's your voice that we're going to amplify. So I think the most important thing in the summer to be a state center, be your state center, is how important it is to show up and listen, to talk about the issues, to have those conversations that are back and forth and find those solutions. And we need to do that, and also continue to fight us, to fight for public education systems, and to continue to show up whenever needed. So I want to say thank you so much. I'm so fortunate to be working with so many amazing local leaders and educators, and I look forward to working with you all again in this session.
Thank you to all of our candidates for taking the time to engage in this important discussion. Your commitment to accuracy the challenges we face is vital for our future. Thank you also to Los Fresnos High School and raise your hand to organizing this forum. Let's continue to work together to support our students and improve our education system. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I will also give you a lot of us for any very complex. Real quick tonight, I should thank the superintendent, the South Salazar, all of our employees for the help, allowing us to come here to the high school and do this event. All of our work there, it was my work, it's just also would like to thank all of the others and also you, Joe, all the way to Miguel, to come here. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. It's events. At the end, we do have some benchmarks, marketing source with tables that we like to donate to online. We have one locations for Tarrant County. You can look at those locations, do your best cards, just make a plan. We encourage you to put those cards in your fridge or something like that, see them, so you can actually go. Already what it is when it starts, it's going on until November 1st. The election day is like our 5th. Thursday, they're going to vote. Like the gentleman said, vote, tell everyone else now to rather vote. Can we that? It's like together and same time, patient.